is the Seahawkers Podcast, episode 386. I'm Brandon Schultz of the Military Seahawkers, and joining me from the road, my good buddy and Montana Seahawker, Adam Emmert.
Yeah, man, I'm multitasking on this podcast, dude. Just cruising down I-90, just dropping, Seahawks knowledge on y'all. It's a good time. A little bit like this weekend, the Seahawks with the win. They did not multitask. They only did one thing this weekend, and that was play offense. But it does put them right in the thick of maybe the most mediocre division of football, the NFC West.
This has been a fun start to the year with this mediocre division. Now, I know you and I, when we went into the season, we were doing our off-season previews of what we might expect from the division. We kind of expected the Rams to, be kind of mediocre. The 49ers to maybe not be that great, especially with Trey Lance being at the helm, but he's no longer at the helm. It's Jimmy Garoppolo, and they're at 2-2. So here we are, right in the thick of the NFC West. And man, oh man, who is going to win this division? I don't know. We can get into that part of it in the second half of the show.
Not the Cardinals.
But yeah, it's definitely not going to be the Cardinals. You're not wrong about this team doing just one thing, not multitasking. The Seahawks offense, they lit it up against the Detroit Lions defense, scoring 41 of the 48 points because one of those was a defensive score. And this offense, they were getting it done against a really bad Detroit Lions defense. I'm excited about the offense. I'm really frustrated by the defense, Adam.
I hear you. So let me ask you this. What that game that you watched, and I'm talking both the Lions and the Seahawks here, was that good football or bad football?
That was really bad football, but I do want to contrast the bad football that we saw between the Lions and the Seahawks. And, well, I'll also say one thing. It's okay to like a fun shootout style game. It was a fun game to watch in the sense that it wasn't boring. So there was that part of it.
No.
But it was very much different than the game I remember watching between the Chiefs and Rams, because the offenses in that game I felt were elite style offenses. And I know everybody's talking about the Jared Goff led Detroit Lions and how, he's so great, even though he was down 3 of his offensive starters. I know people are talking about Geno Smith, and even the data and the analytics is showing out that this may be a good Seahawks offense. But to contrast this game with that of the Chiefs and the Rams a couple years back, it was 2 different games for me.
Yeah, the Chiefs and the Rams were playing at a high level, and they just kind of shredded 2 defenses that were decent. Whereas this game, it was a comedy of errors by both defenses. And then with a cameo from the officials throughout the game. And it was just ugly football. It was tough to watch, honestly. Was it exciting? You bet. Absolutely. And it's fun to watch Geno ball out. And I think we all definitely can agree through the first quarter of the season, because, I know it doesn't wrap up neatly now with the extra game and everything. This is right about the first quarter of the season. Geno gets an A. Not an A+, but an A.
Yeah.
And now, is he, like, you hear the big talking point this week, he's so much better than Russell Wilson. He's an elite quarterback and all this stuff. And it's like, well, okay, let's pump the brakes there for a second. Geno's done this now for 4 games. Okay. And I don't know what to make of it other than he's efficient. He's doing what's being asked of him. But I don't believe that I know for a fact that this offense is good at this point, because you're never as good as your best, right? They're not like 48 points good. We know that.
Mm-hmm.
And you're never as bad as your worst. So they're not 0 points like against the Niners bad. So I don't know. Somewhere between a 0 point a game offense and a 48-point game offense. You tell me what you know coming out of that.
They are somewhere in between. And I tend to lean toward them being on more of the good side when it comes to this particular offense. Geno Smith, the offensive player of the week for the entire NFL coming out of this game. And he did it through the air. He did it running the ball on the ground. which is something that I wouldn't have expected. I mean, it's fun to look at the Geno stats through 4 games versus the Russell Wilson stats through 4 games and look at the price tag on their 2 contracts. I mean, it's a very fun exercise. I'm kind
Can
of
we
in the
talk about that for a second?
Sure.
Okay, because I know I've seen the graphic. I know you've seen the graphic, right?
Uh-huh.
And it goes like completion percentage, yards, TDs, and picks. Like those are the numbers that they keep flashing up, right?
Uh-huh.
And if you were to have watched those 2 quarterbacks through 4 weeks, it would have been a very stark difference in play, right? Like you would definitely see the difference on the screen. You'd be like, wow, one dude's clearly better here, right? And then you look at the stats and they're pretty close. It's like 62%. The completion
percentage is not
one.
close. It's like 61% for Russ to 77% for Geno.
Right. And that's what I want to circle back to, because the second stat that they keep throwing up there. Well, all right, let's go to the third one. Touchdowns. Geno has 2 more, and picks. Geno has 1 more. So that's, it's fairly close to 4 weeks. Fine. And then the yards. Geno's ahead of Russ by like 100 yards, 50 yards, something like that. The yards are freaking close, right?
Yeah.
And everybody's always talking about like how many yards people throw for. What a big deal that is because of freaking fantasy. And we've been saying it for years. Yards don't matter. And now you can see what does matter. Consistency, which shows up in completion percentage. Efficiency, which shows up in completion percentage. That's why Geno's looks so much better. Completing 77% of his passes. Nobody's ever done it in 4 games like this.
No, I mean, I know we've talked about Pete Carroll wanting Russ to hit that 70% completion percentage number over the years, and he's had stretches where he's been right on that number. It's a little bit tougher for him because he does attempt so many passes deeper downfield than I think Geno does, and they've done a really good job, I think, of mixing it up with Geno and the Seahawks offense of going for some of the short passes, some of the intermediate stuff, also mixing in a few deep throws. Now, I don't think Geno is as skilled as the deep throws, obviously, but there's not too many people that are as skilled as Russ at throwing those deep passes either. So that part of it's hard to compare. But yeah, Geno through 4 games, the consistency and the accuracy. Now, if you were to ask me to pick one thing that I'd like to see Geno do, it would be to come from behind in those closing moments of the game and get that win. But one of the things he did do against this Detroit Lions defense is every time that Detroit got within a score, he was able to drive the offense down the field and put another score up on the board. So it never felt like this game was all that close. I mean, I did clinch up a little bit at the end when Nick Bellore went to the ground to try and pick up the onside kick and wasn't able to recover it. And thank goodness DJ Dallas, it ended up in his hands. So there was a little bit of worry there in those final moments.
Oh, for sure. I was at the mill and I was checking the score, every so often when I'd hop out of the hole. And I hopped out and it was, 48-30, whatever it was right there at the end, 48-38. Or 44, whatever the score was at the
48-45 when the onside kick happened.
Okay, 48-45 when the onside kick happened. And I saw that score, and I didn't even know they had onside kick, but I was like, are they going to fart around and lose this game after scoring 48 points? It really felt like it. Because the defense, they couldn't stop a parked car. It's so bad. And I know a few people were thinking, well, at least it was better in the first half. Was it? I mean, or did the Lions just shoot themselves in the foot?
Yeah, there were moments of penalties, I think, for the Lions. I mean, gosh, the refs in this game were brutal. So that's another component to this game that makes it really hard to judge is that how many times did the officiating impact the game to where you can't really judge exactly what happened because they were giving away first downs or they were taking away big plays. And I mean, just for one, that right before the Rashaad Penny touchdown run on 3rd and 16, for the officials to not realize or to not sync up the game clock and then to allow the play to happen and then to go back and allow the play to run again and then the Seahawks score on a 3rd and 16. I would be furious as a fan of the Lions in that scenario. And I mean, I was kind of furious at the officials anyway in this game for, one, the number of flags that they threw and then picked up. And it was horrible officiating throughout the entire day.
That was such a weird sequence on that 3rd and 16. And I take no pleasure in saying that we scored off of that. Like, because it does feel cheap. And like we cheated somehow, even though it's just incompetence by the officiating. There's a few calls in that game. Like there was one towards the end of the first half and the Lions were down towards their end and Penny Sewell got called for a hold and they show the replay and I can't even remember who he was up against or whatever. And he barely even touches the guy, let alone hold him.
Right.
And Robert Smith in the booth is like, oh yeah, there it is. Clear hold. You can't do that. Like, what are you talking about? And there's a bunch of calls like that to the game on both sides, so maybe it evens out. But
where they called pass interference on the Seahawks when they were allegedly both blocking downfield. And then they showed the replay and the ball came out quickly and the receiver had the ball. And then DK Metcalf was blocking and Metcalf was one of the guys called for the pass interference.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, some of the pick play stuff. Yeah, it was interesting. Yeah. Bad officiating. Bad defense from both teams. I kind of take this as a throwaway game. I really don't. And I'm just so glad that we got the W out of that. Like oftentimes you come out on the wrong end of that. It's great to get the win in a game that was just kind of wild and different and weird.
Well, yeah, let's go back to that first half again, because Clinton was trying to convince me that the defense was actually pretty decent in the first half.
Wrong.
And I have to agree with you. That's not correct. Yes. Okay. Just going through the drives, the Lions' very first drive. Yeah, it was good defense. They made the Lions punt, but then that was when Tyler Lockett fumbled the ball and it put it closer for them so they could then get the easy score right after that. You can say then, oh, well, the defense made one stop on the day because they got the 1 3 and out, but then it was a special teams gaffe. So, okay, maybe we just throw that out.
We don't put that on the defense. We'll give them credit for a stop. That's one.
Okay. We'll give them credit for a stop. And then the second drive that the Lions had the ball, they get a field goal. So I guess that's
not a stop.
That's not a stop. It's points.
Yeah.
The next drive that the Lions had, then they forced a fumble. That was the peanut punch by Kobe Bryant, right? So I guess
that's a stop. That's a stop.
That's a stop. So 2 stops by the defense.
Yep.
In the first half. That doesn't make it good, right?
No, it doesn't. So let's talk about the second half too. How many stops did they have in the second half, Brandon?
They had the interception. Was that it?
There it is. One.
No,
they had one stop.
They made him punt one other time, I think, in the second half.
I don't think so. I went back to the drive chart over breakfast. I did not see another one.
Yeah, it was right after the Nwosu sack on 3rd and 8.
All right. Well, then 2. So they got a grand total of 4 stops throughout the game.
Right.
Okay. I looked it up today. You know what the average amount of possessions are in an NFL game? It's about 10 to 11.
Yeah, 10, 11, 12.
Yeah, right in there. Depending on the season. There's been seasons that's been high as 13, like back in 2013. But the last couple of years, it's been like 10, 10 and a half, 11, right in there.
Right.
So for this defense to be successful, and it kind of bears out the numbers in this game, they're going to have to find a way to get about 5 to 6 stops a game. This game, they got 4, and honestly, they were kind of helped out a little bit by Lions mistakes and the refs and things like that.
Well,
then
2 takeaways. I think you can say that they got 2 takeaways, which those are legit.
Yeah, they're legit. I'll give Kobe Bryant credit for one play in this game. Yes, I will give him credit for one play. Maybe it's just because I'm a Celtics fan and my disdain for the late Kobe Bryant bleeds over to this current Kobe Bryant who can't play football. But good Lord, just get him off the field. I cannot wait for Justin Coleman to come back. Kobe Bryant got roasted by generic white receiver Kennedy like 13 times.
He wasn't the only one. So did Cody Barton.
Well, yeah, we've already talked about how terrible he is in pass coverage. It's the same issues. Like we're sitting here talking about defense and how many stops they got and who's screwing up and all that. It's the same crap. It's the same exact crap. Linebackers can't cover. They're getting gashed in the run game, and it's just kind of a dumpster fire. And I don't see any answers.
Okay. Closing out negative town because I have to. The defense, this is how bad it was. Okay, so the first 2 scoring drives, the first one, okay, it came off as special teams. They got a 32-yard touchdown. Throw that out. The next one, okay, kind of nice. Yeah, it was a 41-yard. The offense for the Lions only put up 41 yards. They had to settle for a field goal. The next 5 touchdown drives for the Lions, 75 yards, 71 yards, 75 yards, 75 yards, and 75 yards. All of those touchdown drives. 2 of those 5, they only needed 3 plays to get the entire length of the field.
Yeah. I mean, basically it was the Jared Goff and Hawkinson show. They just tore our ass up. They couldn't cover him for the life of them.
So being down DeAndre Swift, being down Amon-Ra St. Brown, and being down DJ Chark, and they still lit up the Seahawks defense.
With Jared Goff as their quarterback. Let me repeat. We gave up 45 points to a Jared Goff-led offense that's all injured. Tell me again how this defense is getting better. It's so bad. It is so bad. I don't know how they fix it. I really don't. I think having Mafe playing more snaps has helped with the runs to the edge a little bit.
Yeah.
I think, please God, let Justin Coleman be back next game. Please, for the love of everything
Sidney
that's
Jones
holy.
was working in a little bit more in this game. Ryan Neal was working in a little bit more in this game.
Yeah,
there's nobody to spell Cody Barton, though.
No, unless a certain man puts on his cape and comes out of retirement. The artist formerly known as KJ Wright.
Yeah.
Please come back, KJ.
I don't think he's coming back anytime soon.
No, please. We need you. Because this offense might be okay. It might just be fine. And we're right in the thick of it, this division.
Oh, I want to talk more about the offense, but
yeah,
a couple guys on defense who I'm super happy about. Uchenna Nwosu, I mentioned him with the sack. He's been balling. He's been one of the better defensive free agent pickups that the Seahawks have had through free agency. And then, holy smokes, Tariq Woolen. Dude is on fire through 4 games, essentially.
He is playing out of his mind for a rookie, especially a rookie with his type of playing experience. You can see the physical traits just pop off the screen. The interception was amazing. I mean, he got on it. Talk about let's ride. He got on his freaking rocket and he rode right over there and stole that ball out of the air. I think Jared Goff was legitimately just dumbfounded that he got there. I don't think he thought in a million years that was going to happen. Tariq Woolen has been a revelation, and he's still got a long ways to go. I mean, I listened to an interview with Pete today talking about how he needs to work on his hand fighting and just when and where to use his hands and all that stuff. But that's fine. That's all subtle crap. All that takes is experience. There's no other remedy for it. So yeah, with just his raw physical gifts and being out there, he's been great. You got to give him a ton of credit.
Yeah, you have to give him credit. I mean, it's pretty incredible through 4 games what he has been doing just as a rookie corner. I had medium. I tried to set myself up with medium expectations, knowing the physicality, knowing the just kind of the high upside that he had, knowing that what we saw in preseason wasn't spectacular. So for him to now come out and through these first 4 games, it's not just a contrast of how bad some of the other corner play. Like Woolen has been legit good. He was up for defensive player of the week for the Seahawks.
Yeah, I could see that. Absolutely. He's been legit good, and they're not even they're already starting to not throw his way quite as often.
And when he puts on tape what he showed with the kind of speed and intercepting that pass from Jared Goff, like you mentioned, Goff being dumbfounded by it, it's going to make other quarterbacks think twice throwing that direction now too.
Absolutely. But yeah, just this defense, where it's headed, can it be good? I don't know. But just to put it in perspective, they have been lit up in 3 consecutive weeks by Jimmy G, Mariota, and Jared Goff. that's not exactly a murderer's row of quarterbacks.
No, but I can still feel good, I think, about this offense based on what we've seen, because we've talked about the consistent play that we've seen from Geno. And yeah, could he show us a comeback victory? Yeah, that'd be great. But I don't know if I necessarily need to see that if they can just consistently be good. I've been very happy. We saw a really good DK Metcalf game. He was kind of fired up going into the game, saying that, Okudah wasn't a lockdown corner. And it was fun to see, the media kind of run with that. And then he tried to walk it back a little bit after the game, saying, well, a lockdown corner to me is someone who travels. It's not somebody who has help from a safety. So he was just speaking factually that Okudah has had help in the previous games. And we saw him put an amazing move on Okudah in this game and almost score a touchdown. I think he got down to the 1 yard line. But So we saw good games from both DK and Tyler. The rookie tackles, can't talk enough about those rookies shutting down the Lions in this game. 0 sacks. They had a few pressures, but 0 sacks on the day, keeping Geno upright. Not a great defensive line for the Lions, but enough to worry about. And then, I don't know, I don't have a good sense of the run game to say whether or not it's good, but I feel really good about Rashaad Penny having 2 breakaway runs of 30 or more yards in this game.
Those runs are exciting, and he is one of those bursty kind of guys and all of that, but it reminds me a lot of CJ2K back in the day. You remember him, Chris Johnson?
Sure. For
the Tennessee Titans? Like, it's this boom or bust kind of running where it's either an 80-yarder or -2. I just, not a lot of 4 to 6 yard runs on the regular. And the Seahawks are filling that void in this offense with Geno and his efficiency. And it's more like the pass is setting up the run rather than the run setting up the pass, which is weird.
It's weird
for a Pete Carroll offense. And I think it could be sustainable with the way that Geno's doing it, but it's not the way I'd prefer to play. I think Ken Walker is probably a little more consistent, or could be. I liked a little bit of what I saw out of him, but everybody talked about the running game like, we ran the heck out of the ball. Well, they didn't do crap with the ball in the running game in the first half.
Right.
It all really came in the second half. Most of it came off a couple big runs, and let alone that, out of the 200 odd some yards, 50 of it was from Geno.
Yeah, Geno ripping off those big runs throughout the day. That was kind of fun. I know what you're saying though with Penny. The run that I was most happy with from Penny was the 3rd and about 5 at the end of the game that they needed that 5 yards, because I was so worried that they were going to have to punt the ball back to the Lions in those final minutes and put the defense back on the field. I was kind of not even sure if they should run the ball in that situation on 3rd and 5 because they'd had so much success through the air. And so I was so happy with Rashaad Penny when he broke through and got the first down on that last 3rd and 5.
Yeah, that was a man's run there. It's just interesting because for as big as he is, you don't get the sense that he's physical. Like, you hear the announcers all the time, well, they got that big back there and blah, blah, blah. He's a speedster. Like, he doesn't run like a thumper at all. He's not. Picture Chris Carson. Does he run like Chris Carson? Oh, hell no. Does he run like beast mode? Oh, hell no. No. Like, he's a lot closer to Sean Alexander than he is beast mode. And I guess maybe that bothers me a little bit.
Well, I can say that there were a couple moments in this game where I saw him put his shoulder down, and especially finishing runs and not just running out of bounds when he had the opportunity to do that. So I think that he just may not be that brutally physical type of guy that, I mean, we have 2 guys to compare as like the tippy top of physicality for NFL running backs with Marshawn Lynch and Chris Carson. So I think everybody compared up against them, it's going to be tough to compare.
I mean, he couldn't be Javonte Williams physical. He can't do that.
I don't know.
Well, that's all I'm getting at. I don't know. It's just odd for his size. You think he would be. I just don't think that any of the linebackers, I don't think anybody like fears tackling him. just fear that they're going to get outran.
Well, overall from this game against Detroit, any other takeaways? Apart from the fact, again, Michael Dixon, an easy day for him. 0 punts for the first time in franchise history. And part of that due to the fact of Geno Smith, part of it due to Rashaad Penny and picking up some big third downs in some key moments. Like it's hard to gauge really good offense when it's really bad defense, but I'm feeling better about the offense for sure than I am the defense for the Seahawks. And that's easy when you look at that contrast.
It's hard to give Geno a crap ton of credit for this game just because, it was a bad defense, but he did what he was supposed to do against a bad defense, and that's put up big numbers. So let's see what he does against a better passing defense. And we have that coming up next week. So that'll be interesting. But I'm glad you brought up special teams for a minute with Dixon, because, it's been a quarter of the season has now passed. And unfortunately, only a third of our team has showed up to play. The special teams were also bad in this game. They were 50-50. I mean, you had the really long. That's bad.
It is bad because you had Tyler Lockett giving up the fumble. You had Jason Myers absolutely whiffing on a field goal, but then you had Jason Myers hitting a 56-yarder in this game.
Yeah, I know, but that was before the Shankopotamus. I'm really worried about Myers coming down with the shanks.
Ooh.
It's got me very concerned because they're like a virus. Like they just come and get you. I'm worried because he could end up like the Lions kicker, just, missing extra points. I mean, then you think about that stuff too. Like how lucky we were to get out of there 48-45, 3 points. Like, I mean, there was just so much left on the field for the Lions. I mean, they shot themselves in the foot. So weird, crazy, kind of fun, bizarre game. Thank God for the dub. I would just love for the final 2/3 of our team to start playing football this year.
Yes, it's weird that the 2/3 of the game, I don't know, or the 1/3 of the game that has shown up has been the offense. That's not what I would have expected through 4 weeks.
I don't know. I think I talked about it with you earlier on in the preseason or even, off season, just like you could about sell me on any narrative for this team. Like, the defense turns out to be great and Geno is terrible or vice versa or whatever. And I'd be like, yeah, sure. Yeah, that's totally plausible.
Yeah.
This year is not boring. And we said that going into this year too. Like, no matter what, it's not going to be boring. And if Geno keeps doing this, do we draft a quarterback watch? Like at the quarter poll here, what are you thinking, Brandon? Do you want to draft a quarterback, or would you rather take 4 top picks and throw it towards a defense that's maybe, I don't know, god awful?
Well, when you phrase it that way, with just how bad the defense is, yeah, I want that to improve. And Geno Smith is officially on Rich Gannon watch at this point. And for those of you who did not experience football in the late 90s, Rich Gannon was a quarterback who he started out with the Vikings, I believe.
Yes.
Was kind of just a backup type player through his career there. Went to the Chiefs, and due to injury and let's see, was it Elvis Gerback that he ended up kind of taking over for, who was one of their top picks, and he played okay. He wasn't anything amazing, but then he got picked up by the Raiders because the Chiefs were kind of bouncing around with Gerback and Bono, I think, at the time.
Right. That sounds about right. Those guys were all in the mix during that time frame for sure.
But so he goes to the Raiders, and then all of a sudden at 33 or 34 at the twilight of his career, Rich Gannon was a Pro Bowl / all-pro quarterback.
/ MVP of the league one year.
Yeah. Yeah. He made MVP that one year that he took the Raiders. They went to the Super Bowl. They lost that year though, didn't they?
Yeah. Because guess who they played?
Was that the year they played Tampa?
That's right. Their coach from the year prior.
Yeah. An all-time great defense.
Yes, exactly. And Gruden knew all their offensive play calls. They didn't change anything. But yeah, it would be unlikely. It still feels unlikely. I still need to see it for a lot longer before I start saying things like, oh no, Geno, you got to consider him a top 10 guy at this point. Or Oh, yeah. No, he's right now this season, he's definitely better than Russell Wilson. Because I do think that Russ is going to find a 5 to 7 game stretch here pretty soon where he has a bunch of games like his last game, which statistically look okay, but according to Bronco Jared was really not good at all. And then 2 or 3 like vintage Russ games, and then he's going to regress back to the second half of the year, Russell Wilson. So I think by the end of the year, it'll probably look a little closer than it does right now.
Yeah, I mean, this is the Let's Ride curse season, so I don't know if we can count on a completely normal Russell Wilson year, but I
Which
think
is working, by the way. Is it not working?
It's totally working.
Okay.
But with Geno on this Rich Gannon watch type performance, he's younger than Gannon was when he went on that stretch. So if you
how old is Geno right now?
He's 31. So if you can,
dang, I was thinking about that today. I was like, is he like 31 or is he more like 34?
Yeah.
He's younger than Russ?
He's younger than Russ. Yeah, because Russ was kind of on the older end when he came out in the 2012 draft, and Geno was right behind him in the 2013 draft.
I kept thinking Geno got drafted before Russ.
No.
Interesting. Okay.
The thing is, if with Geno playing this style of football, you could sell me on the fact that he could put 4 or 5 years together if he's found his way somehow in the NFL, and this is the type of quarterback that he could be for the next 4 or 5 years. Like that style of quarterbacking doesn't age out.
Sure. Let's say it's 3 years.
Okay.
Are you signing up?
I still want to draft a quarterback. Now, maybe it isn't going to be with the very first pick, but I still want to draft a quarterback. Like with Geno Smith, you could do the thing to where you draft a guy in the 2nd round, 3rd round, 4th round, just pick somebody and maybe it works out and then they develop. Now, whether it's, somebody who maybe gets injured in college this year, but they still come out. And so they kind of fall down the draft board a little bit. Someone of that style, then maybe you can take a risk and see what you have with Geno for the next couple of years.
Maybe. Or we could be at week 10 being like, oh my God, can you remember that how much better Geno was than Russ conversation from week 4? How weird was that?
Right. Yeah, it could totally turn south.
Draft our quarterback.
And we could be calling for Drew Lock in 5 weeks from now.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm not ready. I'm not ready to anoint Geno, but I'm certainly just thrilled for him. It's been fun to watch. And it's really a beautiful brand of quarterback play. I really, really enjoy it.
I could handle watching 75% plus completion percentage week after week. Sign me up.
And not have it be all dink and dunk stuff.
No.
Like it really is varied. That was the one thing I wanted to talk about regarding the offense. Where did Shane Waldron go this offseason to get his groove back? Does Waldy have his groove back? Because it feels like it.
Well, this is one thing. And I'm kind of curious to get your opinion on this too, because I have been thinking about whether it's a Shane Waldron thing, whether it's a Geno thing, whether it's, an impact of not having Russ in the offense type thing. And I wonder how much of it is just the Geno Smith kind of cool factor being out there. And it's kind of weird to say that. I don't know if I would have been saying that 4 weeks ago, but Geno just has a command and a presence that he seems in control. He seems cool. These 3rd down plays where it's set up by Waldron and schemed in a way that, they need 3 yards and he draws up a play to get 5 and Geno Smith knows right where to go with the football to get those 5 yards.
And not only do they draw up a play to get that 5 yards, they're drawing up 2 plays to get those 5 yards. I believe both of Penny's long runs, I think Geno got him into both those plays. And oddly enough, they both looked to be against cover 0. And then they tried to, blitz the hell out of Geno, I think, with cover 0 on that big shot to Tyler in the 3rd quarter where Geno just got drilled in the pocket. And you talk about being cool under pressure. Holy smokes, man. He took one right to the chest and then put it right on Tyler in the middle of the field. That was awesome. What is it? Is it, not having Russ? Is the Geno cool factor? Is it Waldy? Like, what is the deal, right? And I really think that it's not having a lot of Russ around, because you see them trying to shoehorn Russ ball into Hackett's system, just like we tried to shoehorn Russ ball into Bevel's system and Shoddy's system, and then a year of Waldron. Waldron's not having to do that crap. He's like, no, we run my things.
Yeah. And another component of it is having two really good left and right tackles. I think it's a lot easier to be cool from a quarterback perspective when you have guys that you can count on pretty well at those two spots.
It looks as if Schneider has hit those out of the park. I couldn't be more giddy about the idea that in one draft, we got two cornerstone bookend tackles, and we've got them for the next however long.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
I would have been happy with just one of those guys working out, and the fact that both of them are working out and that they both seem really, really good.
And one of them hates Twitter. Like, this is a dream come true.
Yeah, it's working out great for you.
It is. It's all coming up Twitterless.
Well, one thing I know is coming up aces when it comes to my drink situation. I'm enjoying these tall boys of the Liquid Death.
Dude, so I'm now traveling down 395 in between Catfishville and Tri-Cities. And you know what I'm sipping on?
Liquid Death.
That's exactly right. Because I needed to kill my thirst, man. And it's dry out here. There's a lot of thirst out here.
And plus you have that can that is just perfect for the cool mountain spring water. I gotta say, after having had most of my bottled water out of a bottle, I guess, drinking water out of a can, it's way more refreshing than out of a plastic bottle.
It's far superior. It's not even close. And, all the creatures in the sea don't have to drown in it. It's great.
What flavor are you rocking today?
I'm just going with the straight up plain water, man.
All right.
Which I'm a big water fan. I like to drink just water a lot. It's, water, beer, and coffee. Those are my three drinks. And the cans are cool. They keep everything cool. I love it, man.
You can go get Liquid Death at your local Albertsons, Fred Meyer, Target, or Chevron Extra Mile. I know on the road, Adam is looking for those Chevron Extra Miles. Or you can find a Liquid Death retailer near you with their store locator tool at liquiddeath.com/Hakra. You go there. That way folks know that you're hearing it right from us. liquiddeath.com/Hakra, HAWKRA.
Speaking of Hakra, Brandon.
Yeah.
We touched on it briefly, but the combined strength of all of the Phlox Hakra is making this Let's Ride curse just giddy up. This is awesome. There's no way I could be enjoying this more, is really what I'm getting at.
It is. Do you think it is the collective nature of, for one, you coming up with the Let's Ride curse, but then the collective belief?
But I felt like I was inspired by the flock. I don't want to take credit for it because I don't think it's any one of us.
No, I don't think it is. But you think that, it had to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And then from there, it has grown. And do you think it has grown based on the belief that it is a thing? And now that it is a thing, that it makes it that much easier to believe in?
Oh, absolutely. You can see it happening. And it's funny, too, to watch. Like, I was watching Brandon Perna. He's a big Broncos fan. He's got a hilarious YouTube channel. That's Good Sports. And then also That's Good Broncos. Mm-hmm. And the last episode, he was talking about just a bunch of different things throughout the show. And I don't know how many different times he just brought up, he's like, and we're cursed. Why are we so cursed? And I was just like, oh my gosh, I wish I would have listened to this live. I would have super chatted it and just explained to him what was happening.
Right. Because
they're all confused. They don't get it yet. But and I hear the word cursed coming out of Broncos country a lot right now. And I couldn't get any more delight out of it. And I love the idea that each and every week our draft picks go up.
Yeah, because if for some reason we end up, I don't know, going nuts in this division, and well, I don't know if there's a way to go nuts within this division when, it's playing out to where not everybody's all that great. I don't know. Maybe we see some growth. Maybe magically we see some growth from the Seahawks defense throughout the year. Heck, we've seen it in the past, so I guess it's not that crazy, right, to expect this defense to have some kind of turnaround here as we get on into the season. Like, that's happened. So maybe we should have that expectation.
Well, okay, here's the case for the defense turning it around and getting a little bit better. The idea that there are so many young players on the defense, so many new players on the defense, a new coordinator, a new scheme, and we all expect it to be completely worked out by week 4. That's probably an unreasonable expectation. So if you think that somehow all those moving parts can be put together here by, say, week 7, week 8, something like that, I mean, it's in range. It's definitely possible. I'm not sure it's probable.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. But it's going to be a test to see what the defense can do with the Saints game coming up this week. It's going to be a test to see really what this offense can do against a Saints defense that has really kind of stymied the Seahawks, at least the last 3 times that these two teams have faced, right? They're on a 3-0 win streak against the Seahawks team. And I don't know if I see it changing all that much based on kind of what we've seen from the defense so far. It's so concerning to me because allowing 45 points to a Detroit Lions team like we did, I just don't see this defense as being able to sustain any kind of success. If they don't turn it around, they're gonna be run over by a lot of different teams, and it's gonna be hard for an offense to play perfect to the sense that you put up 48 points on the board or 41, or not having to punt on the day. That's not sustainable either.
Yeah, it definitely isn't. And as I thought about this and looked over a bunch of Saints stuff and everything, it all kind of boiled down to one thing for me. And it's, if Kamara plays, then that's a definite loss. If Kamara don't play, then, we got a legitimate shot.
Yeah.
Because this Saints team is a lot like the Seahawks team going into this year. You can tell me anything about them and I'd believe you. I don't know what's going to happen with them. And honestly, they feel like they've underachieved up to this point. And if you think about it, they've just lost their last 3 games. And so that scares me a little bit because, they're kind of due. But then again, like Michael Thomas maybe might not play. Kamara might not play. Winston might not play.
Right.
I mean, those are big parts of their offense. And, if you think about Andy Dalton, Callaway, and the rookie Olave as your big weapons, that's not so scary. And not only that, but their leading rusher from last week, he's now a Denver Bronco.
Yeah, they still have another physical running back in Mark Ingram, though. And
yeah, he's ancient in running back years, though.
He is. He's 33.
I like him. Yeah.
Would it surprise me, though, or would it surprise you if Ingram had some kind of breakout, 28-year-old running back performance and run all over this defense? I don't know if I can say I would be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised. One thing that does bode well for the Seahawks, though, is that the Saints have had a massive problem fumbling all year.
Right.
So just taking care of the ball. Oh, and then also with interceptions because Jameis.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, you can expect a turnover or 2, which you're going to need. I do think they need to get to that 5-6 stops range in the game. And when I say stop, just a drive that doesn't score. And that includes field goals. So if they could get to there, I think this team has a fighting chance. Now, you're on the road in the, what is it called now? Oh, it's the Caesars Superdome now, which is kind of weird.
I didn't know that. I didn't know it had a branding component to it now. Yeah,
well, it was the Mercedes Superdome for a long time. But
it's like Mile High. People just call it the thing. And I feel like we're beyond the branding on some of these stadiums.
Are you trying to let Caesars know they just wasted their money branding that stadium because nobody will think of it as Caesars? They'll think of it as just
total waste of money. Although they totally they got you. I can tell that.
Yeah. Well, it's only because I saw it today when I was looking through things. I was like, that's weird. I wonder who else has noticed that Caesars wasted their money. And it turns out it might have been you.
Yeah. Well, it might have been. I don't know. Is Sports Authority still the branding on Mile High? I don't even know.
No, I don't know. I think they took their name off of it immediately after they saw the first 2 weeks of Broncos football.
That's smart.
Maybe Walmart's up on the side of the Broncos stadium now, for all I know. Who knows? It'll all spontaneously burn down at the end of the year anyway. So
no more stadium fires.
Yeah, no casualties.
There's been some components of this Let's Ride curse that I haven't been super happy with, like some of the injuries, the fires, the deaths at the stadium. I could do without those parts of it.
The fire was hilarious. The seats just lit on fire.
Yeah. When it's a comedy in the sense that it's the curse impacting the stadium when nobody's even there. That can be funny.
Yeah, I just want Russ to struggle. I don't want his right shoulder to be hurt. I hope it gets better soon. But he doesn't play for the Saints. That's not what we were talking about. One thing that I do hope for this game against the Saints, Brandon, is that instead of being slow to get the running game going, they get after it right away, right out of the gate. Because I think that's their best chances, is to actually set up the pass with the run in this game. Only because we're going to find out a little bit about Geno in this pass offense. Saints number 9 against the pass so far this year.
I am a little bit worried, though. I mean, they have Demario Davis, who's one of the top linebackers in the league right now. Pete Werner is a pretty good young linebacker. You got Tyrann Mathieu that you have to worry about on that defense. I think his ability to help the team stop the run. And then, you got your 2 defensive ends, Cam Jordan and Marcus Davenport. Davenport's been pretty good too. So yeah, I'm a little bit concerned that they aren't going to be able to run, but I'm also concerned that they're not going to be able to. I don't know. I guess I feel a little bit better about throwing on this defense.
Really? Interesting. Well, even with all that talent, they haven't stopped the run very well.
Well, maybe they're
not bad. They're like, they're either like, low or high teens, low 20s, somewhere in there.
Okay.
It's definitely the weak point of their defense to this point.
The one thing I am excited about is it's kind of a revenge game for Geno Smith in a sense, because last year, they were just stymied by the Saints defense. It was really his first full game, but I also don't think that they had quite the playbook developed for Geno at that time, or had the trust in him that I feel like has now developed through the first 4 weeks.
And Geno didn't have the whole offseason to be competing as the guy.
I'm excited about that. I'm also excited about the fact that the Saints offense is leading the league in 3-and-outs. That could help this defense get right.
This whole season is like the big question mark season. All the teams kind of seem mediocre. It's hard to know what any of them are or aren't at this point. And there's so many things that you point out. You're like, oh, wait, they're actually pretty good against the pass, and that's about the only thing we can do. Oh, wait, but then our defense might be okay because Saints can't convert on a third down. Well, that sounds great, except for, they're actually really good on third down on defense. Well, crap. And you kind of go in these circles of all the things that look like, are an advantage and all the things that seem to be a disadvantage. And who knows? That's how I feel going into this game. And that's how I felt going to last game. And it's weak analysis, it seems like.
Yeah, well, if you could tell me if this defense could actually get to third down in a lot of scenarios, then maybe I would feel a little bit better about their ability to make the Saints go 3-and-out.
Yeah, here's another reason why I don't feel better about this defense. So they give up that 3rd and 14 2 games ago or whatever it was, 3rd and 19. And then they gave up a 2nd and freaking 23 this last game. And it was the same way.
Yeah, all the linebackers just watching all the underneath stuff and allowing the generic Kennedy tight end to get in behind him and be unchallenged.
Generic Kennedy white slot receiver. That's who he is.
Whatever he was. I just know that it was Kennedy, and he came up in some big play moments, and I had no idea who he was.
I knew he was the guy that was beating up on Kobe Bryant. That's what I knew.
Who's going to be that guy in this game with the Saints?
Well, I guess if it's not going to be Kamara, I still haven't decided which way that goes. Not going to be him or Michael Thomas, then I'd probably go with Olave. He's played pretty well in the Falcons. Their rookie Drake London beat up on us pretty good.
I don't know. How about we just pick generic tight end Troutman as the guy who tears up the defense this week?
There you go. Yeah. Troutman. That'd be the guy. Of course it will be, because we all know Cody Barton probably can't cover Troutman.
I mean, a trout man? How hard would that be to tackle?
I don't know. I think it would be a little fishy if you had to try. No doubt.
Well, we've officially. Oh, you know who could have a big name as one of the guys that I'm recognizing on this list? Nick Vannett. What if Nick Vannett tears up the Seahawks defense?
That would feel a little apropos right there. Yeah, that'd make sense.
Kamara. I I don't like to root for injuries. I hope we don't have to face Kamara.
Me too. I hate facing him.
If he plays in this game, I have zero confidence that we're going to win this game.
The last time I went to a game live, I watched him terrorize the stadium for 2 hours.
And he's the guy that you know that they have to stop.
Yeah.
Oh, there is a milestone watch that we need to be on the lookout for in this game.
Okay.
Tyler Lockett just needs 77 yards to pass Darrell Jackson for 4th place on the all-time receiving yards list.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. What's who's 3?
You think I have like the list?
I thought maybe they had the list in the little stat there. So if you don't have it, that's fine.
I can tell you it's got to be Largent number 1, Blades number 2.
Okay.
And I think Baldwin's number 3.
That sounds right. Okay.
See, I know my Seahawks stuff. I just needed a minute.
Well, I wasn't trying to put you on the spot or nothing. I just thought you would. I thought maybe they just put out the full list.
No. I just
curious.
I make notes and then I don't have the call in front of me.
Because I think we could all safely say that we all feel like we'll have another 2 years of Tyler, right?
At least
he could probably get Blades, right?
Yeah. Again, Tyler's another one of those guys that the way that he's been playing, I feel like that's sustainable. Like he knows not to take any big hits because that's what keeps him on the field. And if he's on the field, he can find. I was looking at one stat that said that through these first 4 games, Tyler Lockett was the highest rated in they measure the openness rating of a wide receiver. So just how much separation he's creating between him and the guy that's supposed to be covering him. Tyler Lockett has been better than every other receiver in the league so far this year.
Wow. It kind of looks that way on the film too, right? I think this all is very sustainable for him. If they can stop putting him back on freaking punts. No more, please.
Yeah, D. Eskridge or Penny Hart or I don't know, Ken Walker. One of those players needs to step up and say, "Hey, Captain, I want to take your job in this particular part because we need you on the offensive part where you're critical."
And he hasn't even played great as a punt returner. So let's put D. Eskridge back there to be not great as a punt returner. I'm fine with that. Get some return on our investment, right?
Yeah, anybody.
And he doesn't have to know a playbook to return punts. He can just do it.
He has been getting more snaps, and we heard some positive things from Pete this week about Eskridge. Okay. So I think he's working his way back in. I mean, shoot, bring back Brian Walters and just have him be a statue back there and catch it for all I care. That's fine. But there is one other stat though that Tyler is on a milestone watch for, and it is in part due to his ability on special teams. He's only 41 yards away from going into 2nd place for all-time yards in franchise history. He would pass Sean Alexander.
Wow. Okay. You know how much I'm rooting for him to break that one.
Yeah. Then I think you just have Largent ahead of him for all-time yards.
That's fine. Yeah. Steve can be number 1 for forever, as far as I'm concerned.
Just to be clear, you're okay with Tyler Lockett going down to maintain his health for the sake of being on the field and the offense, but you will never forgive Sean Alexander for running out of bounds and maintaining his health when he was a big component of the Seahawks offense.
Does Tyler Lockett play running back?
I know that's 2 different positions, but I'm just asking if that's factually correct as a statement.
1,000,000% fact, 0% wrong.
Okay.
If you're a running back, play like a freaking running back, especially one that has shoulder pads the size of Texas. Use them.
Hey, as long as I know where you stand, now I know. And now I think we can get to the second half of the show.
All right, let's do it.
We were treated to a game between the 49ers and Rams on Monday Night Football. And I say treated in the sense that at least we could be satisfied that one of those teams was going to lose. And it turned out to be the LA Rams.
Yeah. And look, I was, I was going to say rooting, pulling, hoping that the Niners, but every one of those words sounded wrong. I had maybe possibly preferred that the Niners win that game so that everybody would be tied at 2-2. since somehow the Cards came back and beat Carolina because Carolina stinks. So I guess that happened. I watched about half that game, and it's kind of true what everybody's saying about the Rams. I mean, their offense is cup and bust, and that's it.
Yeah, Allen Robinson has been terrible. They don't have anybody at receiver apart from Kupp.
Who is surprised about Allen Robinson? I still, this is one of those giant mysteries to me that I can never understand. Like, he has been so wildly overrated for years and years and years. He's not good.
I think that everyone's infatuated with his size, that and you know, some of those traits, those other physical tools that he has, that there was a narrative out there that, oh, just get him into the right offense and he's going to have success because the Bears were somehow holding him back.
And the Jags before that.
Right.
And I mean, which both bad franchises and bad teams, I get that and everything, but I just have never seen it out of him. I am not stunned for 1 second that he stinks on the Rams.
I'm not mad about it.
I'm not stunned for 1 second that Cam Akers stinks. And everybody's finally trying to figure out or wise up to that fact. I've been telling you guys that since the draft.
Yeah, well, I didn't want him either. And he was, I think, producing with the Rams due to the function of just when the Rams had a pretty decent offensive line.
Sony Michel functioned behind that for a minute. Sony Michel, fat CJ Anderson performed behind that. It doesn't take a lot of talent.
Yeah, they're in Strugglesville right now. And well, part of it is I don't know if they just can never beat the 49ers. Like, we should all not have been surprised that the 49ers beat the Rams, because they do all the time. Who do you think wins the division? Based on what we've seen through these first 4 weeks, who would you put your money down on as being the division winner at this point?
Okay, so the homer in me definitely just wants to say us, because I do think that we have the best offense in the division.
Yeah,
I do. Even though we've got a long ways to go and all that,
and we have the worst defense in the division potentially.
But we have the worst defense, and then the Niners, they definitely have the best defense, but their offense is the third best offense. And Jimmy's looked really up and down since being back, and he is who he is, and we know what their ceiling is. And I think the Rams are super top heavy and not a lot of depth, and they've gotten a little slow on defense. Yeah. So I think there's a case to be made for them taking third in this division. And the Cardinals have just looked like trash.
Yeah, they needed that 16-point fourth quarter to overcome the Panthers.
And prior to that, they had that miracle game against the Raiders.
Yeah.
And then got stomped by the Rams, who aren't all that great.
No, the Cardinals do seem to me as the worst, like they could be the worst team in the division. I think with the 49ers defense that they can overcome the Jimmy Garoppolo inconsistency and be good enough to win 10 games and have that be enough to win the division.
Yeah. So when you'd asked me the question, that's what I wanted to say was the Niners, just because I think the defense is the most repeatable thing. But then it felt really gross, like on the inside.
Oh, it does feel gross. And look, hey, that's considering Jimmy G having an entirely healthy season, which he never seems to be able to put together either. So if they're one quarterback injury away from challenging the Cardinals for dead last in the division.
You don't have a lot of faith in Brock Purdy?
I mean, no.
Come on, he's from like Iowa State or something. Catfish! He actually looked okay in college, but...
Well, shoot, we're seeing Brock Purdy duplicate over in New England having a little bit of success. Yeah, Zappy.
Yeah, Purdy can run more than Zappy and has a better arm than Zappy, but Zappy is a lot more accurate.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get to watch any of the Zappy versus Packers. And I mean, everybody's talking about the Packers being a good team. It's like, are we sure? They damn near lost to the freaking Patriots with Bailey Zappe, and the Patriots aren't good.
There's just not a whole lot of goodness within the NFC. You've got Brady, who's actually starting to maybe look a little old for once.
Yeah, it also sounds like maybe the home life isn't the greatest right now, and that affects anybody, man, which is really sad.
That can have an impact. I guess the Eagles are the team to beat.
No, everybody's anointing the Eagles as being like one of the best teams in the league or the best team in the league. I am not buying it. I want to revisit this like week 12 because I don't think this is going to continue.
But the thing is that they can come down and they can still be the best team in the NFC.
Yeah.
That's just not a whole lot. To me, from what I've seen with the Vikings, I feel like they're the most complete team with the better of the quarterbacks.
There's just a weird anti-clutchness to that organization that they just can't shake.
I know.
I don't know how.
Maybe Cooper Rush tears it up, and we're talking Cowboys with their defense. And it's the Cowboys' year now, Adam.
You okay then?
He takes over, crushes it, and then the Seahawks are trading for Dak Prescott in the offseason. It could just be the dominant.
So does Cooper Rush Dak Prescott? Does he give him the Dak and just make Dak a Romo and Romo him out of town?
If he takes him to the playoffs, he probably does.
I have not watched one snap of Cooper Rush yet.
I haven't either. I really don't care to, but maybe it'll hit my radar at one of these weekends.
I don't know. You might tune in this week. This might be the last of it. Sounds like Dak's close to being back.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if Cooper Rush goes 4-0 as a starter, if you're a Cowboys fan, do you want Dak to come back? And do you question if you're a good person, but because you're a Cowboys fan?
I think I would just pick a new team. It's time.
That's a solid suggestion. But yeah, I mean, the NFC as a whole, and then specifically the NFC West is a whole puddle of good luck.
I mean, the Falcons are looking like one of the better teams in the South right now.
I'm telling you, after we played them and then seeing their game against the Saints previously, they're playing pretty solid football all the way around. You got to give Arthur Smith some credit over there.
And the Giants are 3-1. What's going on there?
That's called a fraud.
Yeah, there's some weird teams at the top right now, but it could be just a weird season.
The cool part is, what a year to be on a quote down year for us, right? Where it's kind of wide open. So if any team just gets hot inexplicably for a stretch, like you're right in it. And this team could. I mean, Geno Smith could have one of those crazy historic 8-game stretches here. I mean, he's 4 games into one.
Yeah. I need to see the defense turn around before I start even having some of these thoughts.
Well, you can have fun and have the thoughts.
I just want a mediocre defense. Is that all? I feel like every year we get to this point and 4 games in, we're saying, man, I want a mediocre defense. I'm sick of this historic pace to terrible.
Well, like I said earlier, there's a lot of reasons why you could paint the picture that there's an opportunity for this defense to get better. Now, for me personally, we talked about managing expectations a little earlier in the podcast. You said something about where your expectations was like mediocre expectations or whatever. We handle things a little differently. I always set the bar at the very bottom, and then that way everything is a win. So I don't expect them to get any better. So if they get, 5 stops next week over the 4 they got this week, I'm going to be just tickled pink.
Just like this podcast, when we got it started, we didn't know people were going to listen, but it turns out there's people supporting the show, including our amazing executive producers, DCH, Dustin Mock, Brian Shaw, and Rebecca Christensen.
And see, here's the thing. They've even broken my expectations model. Like, I keep raising my expectations for all of them. They just keep exceeding it.
Just keep doing it.
Yeah.
Including our other members of the flock who came in with support this week. Back in, we have Stephen Kirkpatrick, who is the one person who sends me Zelle support. So thanks to Stephen with the 4845.
That's awesome, man. So I've tried using the Zelle, but I've had a hard time with it. So he's clearly a wizard since he's able to make Zelle work.
He knows how to make it work. And I can almost always count on him at least, I don't know, twice a year, probably 3 times a year. It'll just show up. I get no warning, and it's just here it is. Donation from Stephen.
There's good surprises in life and bad surprises, and Stephen is an amazing surprise.
And this time it's 4845, and I wonder what the number significance is with this one.
I actually get that one. It happened. It just so happened to be the score from this last game.
Oh, right. Okay.
I mean, who could have guessed?
There you go. One that Adam could decode. Well done, Stephen.
No. Yeah, you had to make it real dumb for me. That's for sure.
Siv Holtvind came in via getintheflock.com, and he came in with 30 Norwegian krona.
I've never had a krona before.
I hear they're delicious.
Okay. I'm sure they can buy delicious things. I'm very excited to have some krona in our portfolio.
I feel like it would be, if you were going to actually consume the currency, it would be the best tasting, just based on name alone.
Oh, okay. Well, based on most Norwegian cuisine in having a lot of Norwegian heritage, I would disagree.
Edward Barnes is in at £9.50 a month and says, I am a freeloader no more. Yeah. And that is from Meet My Calf, who we talked about because he crushed it in the Pick'em just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, see, just a little bit of success, and then people get really excited about getting in the flock and stop freeloading. That's awesome, man.
Edward now in the Facebook Ring of Honor group.
Heck yeah, man. Well, welcome, bud.
If you want to become a member of the flock, you can go to getintheflock.com. You can support the show, and we'll give you a call out on an upcoming show. Yeah, we'll even read your message, or even if it's just a short message like what Edward sent in.
And then also, too, I saw a comment in the YouTubes just yesterday of a fella that subscribed and said, I felt bad because he wasn't, he'd been freeloading and, he just doesn't really have the cash to become a little flocker. And you know what? That's okay. Thanks for the sub, good buddy, because you do that. And that's the same as not freeloading. You're paying it forward. That's value for value. You're helping us out. So if you don't want to give a buck or two, get on the YouTube, subscribe there. I don't know, subscribe on your podcast app, whatever it is.
Any way that you want to help support the show, whether it's through, subscribing on YouTube, through giving us a like on any of our social media channels, sending in a note through our mailbag and contributing to the show that way.
Write a review on iTunes. Yeah.
Write a review on iTunes. There's so many different ways that you can contribute in some way. And Jeff Whitney providing contribution through email this week saying, hi guys, I meant to send you a message when I joined the flock before the season started, but life happens and I never got around to it. After this offseason of major changes with the Hawks, I felt my Hawker was at an all-time low and I knew something had to be done. I feel to completely cleanse my Hawker, I have to admit to you, I was a freeloader for way too long, and that is no longer the case. Anyway, you guys put out some pretty awesome content, and I will forever be a member of the flock. You guys are and always will be better at life than Skip Bayless. From Jeff.
Dude, Jeff, appreciate it, man. Welcome to the flock. And I mean, maybe it was Jeff getting in the flock after being a longtime freeloader that has, put this Let's Ride curse over the top. Like, the more of you that we have in the flock, the curse becomes stronger, and therefore our draft pick becomes better. So I don't want to put any pressure on you, but if you don't get in the flock, our draft pick won't be as high. So
do your part, help out the team, get in the flock.
Get in the flock, do your part.
Jeff also said, P.S., I'm glad you approved of my Pick'em League team name, Show Me Your TDs. My wife thought it was too inappropriate.
No, tell your wife it was wonderful, and it makes me giggle every time I hear it. And thank you, Jeff.
Yeah. I mean, what's inappropriate about touchdowns and Nothing. Showing someone touchdowns?
Who doesn't want to see TDs?
I don't know. PSS, Catfish! The Rams, Catfish! The Niners, and I'm not even going to bother with the other team.
Yeah, Catfish! Come.
All right, taking a look at the Pick'em League that Jeff was performing well in last week.
Okay.
And Edward the previous week. Let's see here. In the standings, we've got 5 people atop the leaderboard with 40 points now going into week 5. Charles Cross will make you jump.
Yeah, that is well done. 90s hip hop reference. Love that shit.
I love that. Yep. Now I'm going to have that stuck in my head all day. The Mac Dad will make you jump. Cross block for Lockett. I miss Carlester Crumpler. Peaceful, easily feeling Gary hanging on in that top spot. And
still cheating.
Still finding a way to cheat, but only getting 11 points last week.
We can't make it too obvious.
Yeah.
Gary's a really clever guy. Don't think he doesn't have something going on here. It's all part of his method.
Yeah, I'll tune it down to 11. That way I'll still be in the top spot, but it'll make it look like I'm just consistently picking well.
Right, because if he picks 12, then that seems fishy too. Yeah.
Yep. And a penny for my Dixon. Here. Oh, and a penny for my Dixon to Monet, filling out that 5th spot.
Well done to all of you. We'll see how my picks end up after our new weekly segment that we still need to workshop the name. I still want to work on that, but
Adam's terrible picks after the fact.
Okay. I would say either take terrible out and put in mediocre because I think that's closer to accurate, or we double down in Adam's completely awful, all-time terrible, disgusting picks.
After the fact picks.
After the fact. Yeah.
We'll have to see that if even after the fact, you can find a way to pick 16 games correct as Danger Russo did, getting the top spot for week 4.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's impressive. And in this year, in this league, I mean, that's almost as randomly lucky as predicting like the score of the game last week. That's never been done before.
I don't know how you did that, Adam. How do you pick a score that's, for one, a scoreagami? That's never been a score that's been achieved in the NFL ever.
Absolutely.
And yet you managed to pick that.
Well, we all know how much I care about the scoreagamis because they matter. And I think it's a big deal. And I really love talking about scoreagamis, which is a terrible title for the fact that it's never been scored before. It doesn't even make sense. But I'm going to go with, I could sit here and crow and tell you about, how much insider information I had, how much I studied and all that. Or I could just be truthful and tell you it was blind ass luck and I have no idea how it happened.
I have no idea how it happened either, but there it is. Yeah. And probably Danger Russo having a similar feeling about their picks.
I don't know. Maybe they feel like they knew the whole thing and they just nailed it. You don't know.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know. Yeah. So as we flip this over into commissioner mode, Adam's going to make his picks now for week 4. Yes, the week that already happened.
Yeah.
And we're going to start off with Thursday.
My no good, lousy, terrible after the fact picks. Here we go.
Fact picks. Miami at Cincinnati.
I would have had Cincy.
Because you hate the Dolphins.
Still.
Off to a great start.
Well, they tried to kill their quarterback. If you don't think they're an evil franchise, look at that.
That's true. You know what? They deserve to lose more games because of that.
Yeah.
All right. So we are starting off well. Minnesota at New Orleans.
I would have had Minnie.
All right. On the road. And that was the game that it was on so early. I didn't even know. I forgot it was on because it was the England game.
Right. No, I just caught the late pass.
Yeah.
To win it. Yeah.
And then we have Buffalo at Baltimore.
I'd have had Buffalo.
Yeah. Baltimore giving up a big lead once again.
Yeah.
Chicago at the New York Giants.
I would have had Giants.
Okay. It seemed like a coin flip game to me.
It was, but I just would have guessed that. I mean, just Chicago's offense is so broken. Who won that game, by the way? I don't even know.
Pretty sure the Giants won that game because they're 3-1 now.
Gotcha.
You got Cleveland and Atlanta.
I would have had Atlanta.
Jacksonville at Philly.
Jacksonville.
Okay.
Yep. And I know they lost.
I also picked Jacksonville in this game just because they've been playing well.
Yeah, exactly.
And I thought that they might get the upset against Philly and that, I might be able to catch up a pick on people by sneakily picking the Jaguars, but it did not work out.
It felt like a zig pick, when everybody else is zagging.
Well,
sure.
I still go by the risk pick rules that we instituted.
Yeah, the one, every week. Maybe, do I need to institute a risk pick in my no good, lousy, terrible after the fact picks?
Well, I'm going to call you out if you don't have one, but there's no way for me to see the percentages right now, but I do know that Jacksonville was one.
You can have a sense of one. Yeah.
Okay, Houston and the Chargers. That was in Houston.
I would have picked the Chargers.
Jets at Pittsburgh.
I would have picked the Jets.
Ooh. Seattle at Detroit. You would have picked Seattle.
Not only would I have picked Seattle, but I would have picked them 48-45.
I feel like you should get extra credit for that.
No. Nope.
All right.
Even a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while, man.
All right. Who did you have between the Colts and the Titans?
Toilets. I would have picked toilets. God, I probably would have picked the Colts.
I think I picked Tennessee in that one. Washington at Dallas.
Washington at Dallas, and that was a Cooper Rush game, right? I would have picked the Commanders.
Okay. Arizona at Carolina.
I would have picked Carolina.
They look like they might have had it, too, through the first 3 quarters of that game.
Yeah.
Who were you picking Denver against the Raiders?
I was picking the Raiders.
Yeah.
Because I thought that Chandler Jones would have his Russell Wilson game. But instead, all he did was chew up double teams so that everybody else could have the Russell Wilson game.
Yeah, Max Crosby had a game.
Yeah.
New England at Green Bay.
I would have picked Green Bay.
Kansas City at Tampa.
I'd have picked Tampa. Or, I'm sorry, I would have picked Kansas City.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, another coin flip type game, I feel like, with it being
I would have picked that just because Tampa hadn't looked great. I mean, they eked out, or they barely lost the Packers the week before, and I don't know, they just hadn't looked in sync, and the Chiefs just could go off at any time.
They're having a good year.
Yeah.
And the final Monday night game, who did you have? Rams, Niners.
I picked Niners just because I just fucking hate the Rams, man. I hate them so damn much. I mean, it's more than the Niners. It is. At least for, the next couple of years, I think.
I feel like my hatred is still more on the side of hating the Niners.
That's fair. I can't even bang on you for that. It's still a great hatred. It's a good sports hate.
And I think more of mine is more toward 49ers fans than the actual team.
I would say that about Rams fans, but there just aren't any.
Exactly. That's where my sports hate goes.
I get it.
Okay, so I had 10 picks correct. And after your terrible after the fact picks, you beat me for 1 week. You got 12 picks right.
Woo! All right. I was in the groove this week.
It's like you knew.
Yeah.
Just what you needed to do to get past me in my 10.
Look, you knew I was hot this week when I got the game score right. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I do. I have to admit it. When you get the better of me in picks, I'm man enough to tip my hat and say, you were right. You had a better week than me.
Oh, yeah. You've had a better season than me so far. There's no doubt about it.
I've also picked before the games kicked off every single week.
Yeah, I know. My picks would have been exactly the same. Like, none of this is any different. That's how no good, terrible, lousy after the fact picks work.
Well, Danger Russo, they got all their picks in before and got the top spot this week. And so that means you are the winner, and you can either pick some of the Lauren Taylor artwork. I'm going to be posting those images in the Discord. And so hopefully you're in the Discord. If you're not a member of the flock and you need to get into the Discord, if you get the top spot, I'll give you a Discord invite as part of your victory. And so that way you can pick out your prize there as well.
Nice.
Also, if you want to find a card at Flathead Sports and Hobby Cards as your prize, you get a $20 gift card there. And I can put you in touch with Ben at Flathead Sports and Hobby Cards. And if any of you are looking for sports cards and you're looking for cards at a great price, you can talk to Ben yourself. Go to facebook.com/FHSH cards, and he's got the hookup for you.
Yeah, man. They're all Tuggalicious.
What now?
Do you know about Tuggalicious, Brandon?
No, I don't.
Oh, my God. I just shout out to the Ringer podcast because in my long drive from Tennessee to Louisiana this week, came across theirs, and they decided to pull out a clip from old Nathaniel Hackett, head coach of the Broncos, from some film breakdown that he did this offseason for the Denver Broncos, where he's breaking down this piece of film. He's like, yeah, so, the quarterback's got to process this quickly, and then, look right over here, and if it's not there, then he's got to rip it right in here for a Tuggalicious.
Tuggalicious.
And he was so smug and happy with himself. Oh my God! If you haven't heard it, go to the Ringer football podcast from this last week, and it's about an hour and 6-7 minutes in. It's right towards the end, and get yourself a little bit of Tuggalicious in your life.
Here's the thing, though, and this leads.
He's a grown man that said Tuggalicious on his own.
See, this leads in well to my do better this week, because it's things like this that I don't need to be checking out, Adam, because then I'm going to be finding myself saying them. And I don't want that in my life. Just as I don't want James McCarthy, who posted in the Ring of Honor group this week, the TikTok of Russell Wilson and Geno Smith doing the anything you can do, I can do better the duet.
Yeah, you can't unsee that.
Yeah, not only can you not unsee it, I can't unhear it, because I have had the anything you can do, I can do better song now in my head for the entire day since watching that video. And so for James McCarthy for screwing up and getting inside my head with this song, do better.
Yeah, man. So now who has the deeper voice and the higher voice in your version in your head? Is it Geno or Russ with the lower voice?
Well, in the video, it has Geno with the masculine voice.
Right. Okay.
And so that's more what's in my head.
All right, man. My do better this week. He deserves more than a strike. When I saw this headline today, Brandon, this lit my hair on fire so hard. I could not believe what I saw. And the headline read that the man who ran out on the field during the 49ers and Rams game with his little smoke grenade, his pink smoke grenade, is now wanting to press charges and sue for the, quote, obvious assault that he was put under when Bobby Wagner sat his ass down and hit him. Like, I couldn't believe it when I saw that. Like, this guy, he decides it's a good idea to, on national TV, break security, run out onto the field, onto somebody else's workplace, a workplace of giant, like 104 giant full-grown men, go violate their workplace, threaten their safety by being out there, then get medium tapped by Bobby Wagner. But Wags could have blown his ass up, and he didn't. He just love tapped him, really. And then after all of that, cry, sit there and be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to sue because I was obviously assaulted. Take responsibility for your fucking actions, you fucking tool bag. This is something that drives me nuts. You don't think that when you run out onto the football field like that, there's going to be possible fucking consequences? God, how weak. I can't believe some of the sue-happy public that we have in this country. This guy goes out there to try to protect animal rights and then gets love tapped by Bobby Wagner and now wants to get a free meal check. Take responsibility for your actions. These are the consequences. Shut the catfish up and never come back on the field again. Whoever your name is, do better.
Yeah, I hadn't heard the news yet about the filing of a police report. Yeah. That's a bold move.
He's a piece of catfish.
That's doubling down on an already bad decision.
Look, I'm totally. So he's running out there to like advocate some, wildlife rights or whatever it is, something for the betterment of wildlife. Okay, cool. Like, I don't know what exactly the platform is. I know they've done this at a couple games now. They did it at a Timberwolves game earlier this year. Things like that. Maybe one day I would check it out. I probably won't after this now, though, because I would have been sympathetic to that cause. But to go out there, bait somebody into hitting you because they're afraid for everybody's safety out there. You're a safety hazard when you're out there. And then to act like the victim, give me a break. And Bobby came out and said it so much, too. Basically, Bobby was like, look, I mean, this guy was running around out there. Security was struggling. And who knows what's in that smoke he's blowing around. It seemed like a safety issue, so I took care of it. And then to blame everybody else, give me a break.
The thing about this that's really confusing to me, too, is that, they seem to be gloating and about it in a sense by posting I think they posted a photo of the two of them with their citations after the fact. And they seem pretty happy with themselves. And I know that the girl that was with him didn't run out on the field, but there was a partner as part of this.
Partner in stupid crime. Yep.
She had the sense to not go on the field, obviously.
Yeah.
The thing was, though, you're getting put down one way or the other, whether it's put down by security or put down by Bobby. So
yeah,
what does it matter who the person is that puts you on the ground?
So, Brandon, when you are working in the office and not from home, if I were to have run into your workplace with a smoke grenade and just started running around, would I have gotten put down?
No, I would have had to call security and wait for the appropriate amount of time so that way this situation could be cleared and then I could go about my day.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly what would have happened in a federal building. Like, I don't understand the mentality. Like, oh, I'm the victim now because I pulled something stupid. You deserved it. Sit down.
Well, that leads into my better at life this week. It's for Bobby freaking Wagner. You know, we've seen some, a lot of Magner down in LA, but I caught a glimpse this past week, Adam, of our old good friend and amazing linebacker for our Seahawks over the years. We saw that glimpse in full view as he took down that threat right on the field, took care of it himself. And of all the things that I'm going to remember from Monday Night Football, it's going to be that moment and Bobby Wagner sticking it to the protester for running on the field. And yeah, okay, maybe I'm putting myself at risk for being sued from this particular group by saying that Bobby Wagner was in the right position at the right time to make the right call and to do this.
Yeah, they're all victims now.
But you know what? I'll put myself out there. I'll even put it out there. You know, the Pro Football Hall of Fame, they have to get behind this too. No waiting period for Bobby Wagner. Put him in the Hall of Fame right now. Bobby Wagner is a hero, better at life than Skip Bayless.
100% agree. Give him a gold jacket now. You're not wrong. But I do appreciate you putting yourself out there while obviously audio assaulting the audience right there. Like, it's very courageous of you.
You know, I much like Bobby being the one to show courage in that moment, because he didn't know what that fan had or is running around with, if it might be an impact to his own personal safety.
Or his teammates or coaches or the refs or anybody else in the stadium. He went out there and protected 50,000 people. That's what he did.
All the runner had to do was turn the opposite way instead of turning toward the Rams sideline. How does that person not know better?
Well, they obviously don't have a lot of sense to begin with, man.
Maybe he thought Magner was out there, but no, it was Bobby freaking Wagner.
That's exactly right. No sense. He has no sense in the brain and obviously none in his pockets either, because he's going to try to go after Bobby's, I think. Douche.
That's incredible.
Bobby Wagner's a hero this week.
Yeah, I can't say anything bad about him now.
I didn't before.
We just thought he was a completely different person to help shield us from our coping with him not being in Seattle anymore.
That's exactly right. See, for all the people that gave us a bunch of crap about giving Russ crap, like, look at the way that Seahawks fans have treated Bobby.
Right.
It's because Bobby wasn't two-faced about what's going on. In fact, he wanted to stay.
And he should have.
Yeah, I wish.
We could use him right now.
All right, man. My better at life than Skip Bayless this week is for me. You want to know why, Brandon? Have you ever driven through the Tri-Cities area, like taking 395, like through Tri-Cities?
It's almost impossible. The last time I did it, I ended up in Yakima, and I don't know how I got there.
Right. I mean, it's loop-de-loops and lane changes. And I mean, there's probably like 5 different little intersections you got to navigate. None of it's well marked, anything like that. If any of you have been to Tri-Cities or live in the Tri-Cities area, you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? Well, I just performed the merry-go-round loop-de-loop path of 395 all the way through Tri-Cities, all while talking on this microphone and without maps. That's a mic drop right there. That, for me, better at life than Skip Bayless. I think that was quite the accomplishment.
As great of an accomplishment that is, you really do deserve the better at life than Skip Bayless honor this week for your 48-45 prediction. You nailed it.
Yeah.
Take your award, put it up on the shelf. Adam, you are better at life than Skip Bayless.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm prouder of navigating the Tri-Cities just now with no maps and while recording Podcast Gold.
Yeah, that's probably more difficult.
That felt like that took skill, where 48 to 45 were just random numbers that came out of my mouth that were high, because I knew it was going to be defense optional.
And I think with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.